The sun was barely up, maybe 7:30 a.m., but the noise hit me like a physical blow, a low, aggressive humming sound, and then the grinding of tires on my freshly laid gravel. I grabbed my mug of coffee, Helen's mug, chipped around the rim, still the only one I use, and walked onto the newly restored East Terrace of Merritt Manor. This place, this 100-year-old stone beast of a house, was supposed to be my peace. The air smelled of fresh pine and the linseed oil I'd used on the porch beams, and for a fleeting second, everything was perfect. Then I saw her. She was standing at my wrought iron gate, which I'd spent 3 solid weeks stripping, sanding, and repainting myself. Blonde hair, big sunglasses, a tailored blue blazer, and a clipboard, the uniform of unsolicited authority. This was Vivian Hayes, and she looked like she'd materialized directly from some awful cable TV drama about suburban tyrants. Her voice, when she spoke, cut through the mountain silence. "You've got exactly 24 hours to pay the due assessment, Mr. Merritt, or we will initiate the full demolition proceedings." I laughed. Genuinely, a short, sharp bark that scattered the morning birds. "Demolition? On a legally registered historical property? You must be joking, ma'am," I said, walking down the stone path, planting my boots firmly on the land I owned. "This house was abandoned for 50 years. There's no HOA here." That cold, predatory smile, you know the one, where only the mouth moves, not the eyes, appeared on her face. "There is now, Mr. Merritt," she purred, holding up a cheap-looking stack of papers. "The entire Fairview Crest neighborhood is under new management. And that includes your eyesore of a relic." Before I could fire back the obvious legal challenge, a beat-up black SUV, the kind with cheap plastic push bars, screeched to a halt behind her. A man stepped out, big, blocky, sunglasses identical to hers, wearing what looked like a half-hearted police uniform. "Clayton, I'd learn." He rested a heavy hand casually on his belt, his thumb near a holster. "Sir, we have a report that you are refusing compliance with a valid HOA order," he barked. His tone was firm, but his eyes were cold and nervous. My confusion turned to a cold, thrilling certainty. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. Sheriff's deputies don't talk about HOA orders. And that uniform? It was cheap. The badge looked off-kilter. The font on the side of the car seemed amateur. I realized I wasn't dealing with legitimate law enforcement. I was dealing with professional criminals running a property scam. "You got proof of ownership?" Clayton challenged. "Proof?" I repeated, gesturing back at the house, which now stood like a monumental stone witness behind me. "Yeah, I've got plenty. But first, since when does an HOA send a police escort for a parking violation or whatever this nonsense is?" Vivian folded her arms. "You're trespassing on HOA property, mister. We have the right to enforce compliance." I made a show of retreating toward the front door. All right, I sighed, loud enough for them to hear. "You want $42,000? I need the paperwork." "Step inside, let me get my checkbook." Vivian's panic was instantaneous. "No need for that," she snapped, taking a quick step back. "We'll handle this right here outside." But I was already through the heavy oak door. I closed it behind me, enjoying the brief silence. I didn't need a checkbook. I needed time. And I needed to utilize the best security system money could buy, a system I'd installed not just for safety, but because I'm a paranoid son of a gun who believes in documentation. The motion sensors, the facial recognition, the tiny red lights of the 4K4 cameras I'd hidden in the ceiling cornices, all silently blinking, recording their every word, every movement. My phone buzzed in my hand, a text from my brother. "Agent Marcus Merritt, who works in white-collar crimes down in the city." I'd forwarded the initial HOA letters to him a week ago, thinking it was just local nonsense. "You were right, Thad. The company doesn't exist in county records. It's a ghost LLC." My heart steadied. I wasn't just defending my home. I was hunting. I turned back to the door, listening to their muffled, anxious whispers outside. I saw Vivian gesture quickly to Clayton, and in the reflection of the frosted glass, I saw his hand hover near his holster, before pulling out a folded piece of paper, a scare tactic. This wasn't about the money yet. It was about intimidation. I swung the door open, keeping my body half hidden behind the frame, but angling my phone perfectly toward them. Vivian's voice rose, theatrical and sharp. This property is condemned. You cannot stay here until the HOA inspection is complete. Condemned by who? I tilted my head. You? She shoved a document, the property violation notice, at me. I immediately recognized the sloppy forgery. Blurry county seal, mismatched serif and sans serif fonts, and a date 2 years old. They didn't even bother updating the date. Nice try, I said, my voice dangerously quiet. Her face tightened. Are you accusing me of something? No, ma'am, I smiled slightly. Just noticing you printed your official notice from Google Images. $42,000. For a neighborhood with 3 empty houses and a dirt road? That's the law here? Clayton stepped forward, his massive frame blocking the sun, jabbing a thick finger toward my chest. You either pay now or we'll take this to court. Show a dues and penalties. I leaned on the doorframe, calm now, enjoying the sudden reversal of power. See, that's where you messed up, son. I am the law here. You should have done your homework. Before restoring this mansion, I registered it under the Stanley Merritt Preservation Trust. Any legal action against this property goes through the State Attorney General's office, not a made-up HOA. Clayton's jaw went slack. He looked at Vivian like she'd just promised him a unicorn. We're wasting time, Vivian. You said this guy was a squatter. I pointed toward the small red light of the hidden camera. I've got every document, ownership, clean title, preservation taxes, and security cameras. The whole show is being broadcasted live to my attorney's encrypted cloud drive. So who do you really work for? Vivian hesitated for a long, agonizing moment. You're making a mistake, Mr. Merritt. Then, from the side road, a powerful black SUV, this one with real tinted windows and a subtle reflection of a county seal, rolled up fast. Vivian's confidence evaporated. She stammered, grabbing Clayton's arm. We need to go. But it was too late. The SUV door opened and a voice called out, calm, deep, and absolutely commanding. Ma'am, step away from the homeowner. You're under investigation for property fraud. Vivian froze. Clayton's face went white because the real sheriff had just arrived. Sheriff Hayes, tall, lean, boots polished and uniform crisp, stepped out, holding up his genuine badge. Mind telling me what's going on here, Mr. Hayes? He said, deliberately using Clayton's surname. Vivian tried to save face. Officer, thank God you're here. This man broke into abandoned property. Stop! Hayes cut her off, pulling a file from under his arm. We've been tracking you for weeks, Miss Hayes. I know exactly who you are. You're the same woman who's been creating fake HOA groups to extort homeowners across 3 counties. And this man here, he pointed to the fake sheriff, is your boyfriend, Clayton Thorne, not law enforcement. Hayes turned his tablet around, showing clear surveillance footage. Vivian and Clayton placing fake HOA signs, stamping notices, and even posing in those cheap uniforms. Her arrogance crumbled. That's not me, she whispered. But the lie was dead on arrival. I couldn't resist. You picked the wrong mansion, Karen. Her badge font was Comic Sans, Sheriff. Even a prosecutor knows that. Hayes smirked, then his face went serious. You set me up, Vivian hissed at me. Set you up? You broke onto my land and sent a fake officer to threaten me, I said. I just restored a house. You destroyed your own case, Hayes looked at me. Mr. Merritt, you did good calling this in. But there's a problem. He pointed to the tree line where a second car engine suddenly roared to life. Tires screeched, gravel flew, and a black pickup sped away from the back road. Hayes cursed under his breath. Her crew is running. Vivian gave me one last cold, triumphant smile. You think it's just me? You've got no idea what you've stepped into. Hayes signaled his deputies to cuff her and Clayton. Get inside and lock your doors, Mr. Merritt. This isn't over. I nodded, stepping back toward my porch. But as I reached for the doorknob, I noticed it was slightly ajar. I froze. I had locked it. Someone else was already inside. The metallic smell, a mix of copper dust and something acrid, something that didn't belong, hit me immediately. I grabbed the nearest thing I could, a heavy rusted wrench from my restoration kit, and moved quietly, my mind colder than the iron I'd spent months stripping. Upstairs, a faint thud echoed. I crept up, my heart hammering a chaotic rhythm against my ribs. I saw a shadow slip into the master study, the same room where I kept all the original blueprints and the Preservation Trust documents. You've got 10 seconds to walk out before I make a call you'll regret, I commanded, my voice strained but steady. I lunged and the door burst open. A man with a half-torn mask lunged toward me, eyes wide with panic. I swung the wrench, deflected his arm, and sent a fake badge spinning across the floor. Same cheap uniform, another Clayton? Who sent you? I demanded, yanking him into the light. He hesitated, then whispered, terrified, Karen doesn't work alone. The houses. They're all part of it. Hayes's SUV, alerted by my frantic third call, returned, sirens wailing. His team stormed in, tackling the intruder at the stairs. Within minutes, they found the real prize. Behind a new sheetrock wall I'd rebuilt in the basement, there was a sealed metal box. Hayes pried it open carefully. Inside, stacks of forged property titles, fake HOA charters, and hundreds of blank violation forms, enough to target every homeowner in the county. Hayes stared at the contents, then at me. You just helped us uncover a multi-million-dollar real estate fraud ring, Mr. Merritt. I let the wrench drop, the sound echoing on the polished floor. Guess this old mansion wasn't just hiding history, I said, exhaling deeply. It was hiding a crime. Vivian, Clayton, and their accomplice were taken away that night. Merritt Manor stood silent again, but the silence was different. It felt proud. The investigation that followed revealed a massive, four-state network of real estate criminals who used ghost HOAs and forged documents to claim ownership of derelict or historically significant properties, betting that new, non-local owners wouldn't have the institutional knowledge to fight back. Their total estimated fraud value was nearly $7 million. A week later, I stood on the East Terrace as a local reporter wrapped up her segment. The man who restored a century-old mansion, she said into the camera, ended up restoring justice, too. I smiled faintly. I didn't do it for fame. I did it because no one gets to threaten a man on his own land and no one gets to destroy history. I didn't just rebuild a home. I rebuilt the confidence that this land, this country, still stands for a simple truth. Freedom, truth, and the right to fight back. Now, if you've dealt with HOA nightmares, corrupt officials, or anyone trying to steal what's yours, drop your story in the comments below. You are not alone, and your silence is exactly what they are counting on. Hit that subscribe button because next week we're exposing a small-town librarian who single-handedly bankrupted an entire city council using nothing but their own bylaws and 2 decades of patience. The revenge is surgical. Let me know what you would have done when that fake sheriff showed up. Should I have paid the $42,000 just to make them go away? Or was fighting back the only way to save the whole neighborhood? Let's talk about it.